Awful old Ollie Oils, oily autos. What's going on, yeah, guys, you ain't got to give us even good, but awful old Ollie Oils, oily autos. What's going on, everybody? See, that's what happens when we take a little bit of time off. I didn't forget how to do this shit. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Like I said, it's been a little bit since you've seen our lovely, wonderful faces. But yes, welcome back to the Whatever We Want podcast. In case you've forgotten, the reason why I opened it with an odd tongue twister is that what I am doing for the next 26 or now probably 22-ish episodes. Right now, we're going to do some tongue twisters. But anyway, who am I? My name is Jazz. I go by Jazz, Superjaz, JT.
Superjaz.
As nature intended. Jazz, Superjaz, JT, whatever you want, what have you, and the like. And, as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host.
Yes, y'all know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellis, feogrande on YouTube. Sometimes referred to as Pete on this show. Don't know why that matters. But I'm here as well. Happy to be here.
And like I said, this is a Whatever We Want podcast where we do just that. We talk about whatever we want. We do not lead this conversation. This conversation leads us, and we let these crisps fall where they may.
Every Wednesday. Or at least we try to. It's been a minute. So,
as I like fumbled over my tongue trying to say, it's funny how I didn't stumble over the tongue twister, but I stumbled over the sentence after. But yeah, it's been a minute, man. What were you about to say?
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. We released a video a while back. Editing software wasn't really working right. And it came to exporting episodes for anything. And
right.
Now we're back, and it also coincided with a lot of travel for one of us, another one of us putting on his own production, by the way. Not sure that's still going or the whole production run has happened.
No.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Mr. Aquarian Rising.
Well, no, the show is not still going on. What's funny is that I want to say either just before or like timed with it, like right at the close of the production was when you basically hit me up and Bill up for that matter. Shout out to Bill for what is it? This Guy Is the Scene, the other show you do, and it was basically like, hey y'all, have an issue with the software. So that's why I was like, well, I've been doing a lot lately. What with doing the production that I just finished and working a 9 to 5. So when you told me that you weren't that we couldn't do that for like what I thought would just be like a week or however long, I was like, well, you know what? We got enough episodes up. I can take a little break. So it was cool to take a little break. And I'm not, whining or complaining by any stretch of the imagination. It was just nice to take a little bit of a break because, getting the production, especially for the first time, It was a lot. But no, everybody, a lot of people have like kind of asked me, like, how did it go? Or, whatever this or that, blah, 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 blah. And I've been saying to people, and it's so true. It is such a cliche to say that it went better than I could have imagined, better than I could have dreamed, but it went better than I could have dreamed. It really did. From the turnout to the audience reception to people in the show, like a part of the show, some people in the cast or whatnot, and the crew and everything, thanking me for the opportunity, and few people talking about, one of the best shows I've been a part of, and it's just like, what? And I'm not saying this to humble brag by any means. I'm saying this to be like, yo, this is crazy, because this was my first show. I've been telling some people, one of my good friends, shout out to my dude, I'll say his first name, it's common, Jeremy, shout out to him. Well, he gave me one of like the best compliments that anybody, especially a friend, could give you. Where he said, he was like, "Is it bad that this was your first show? Because how are you gonna top this?" And I was like, damn, man, thank you. And Jeremy even says like opening night, because that's the only night he could make it. He says opening night, he's like, man, and he like look at me in my eye. And Jeremy, I got 4 years on him. And Jeremy's like, it's like, dude, he's an actor as well. And he's like, man, it's like, I'm just I am while you were up there, giving the pre-show speech, and then when you were acting and seeing everybody else doing their things, I just so honored to, be friends with somebody as talented as you. And I was like, dude. He's like, no, no, no. You gonna like basically like you gonna let me say this shit. And I'm like again, none of this is to be like, ha ha ha, look at me, for I am Jazz. Ha ha ha. Mm-hmm. I put super in front of my name because that no, it ain't none of that shit. It is honestly to be like, yo, fuck you. That's funny. Anybody who happened to be watching at the time, the screen at the time, that's funny. Um, but no, no, I'm really saying that to say like it's giving me the affirmation of like when you know you can do something, but you don't necessarily know maybe. And of course, I got a lot to learn, grow, stuff like that. But it's like it's just more affirmations that I'm going down the right path, Um, and I'm not by any means taking any credit for this shit solely on my own
I'm about to say you
because,
should take some credit.
well, yes, of course, and thank you for being a friend to say that. Um, no, none of it would be happening if it wasn't for me having the idea to say, "Yo, I want to do the show."
Mm-hmm.
Finding all of the people, or at least finding the people to help find other people, getting the venue, signing the papers, you know, paying for the rights from the playwright to use his show, uh, certain stuff like basically compiling everything. Yeah, okay. But, I get by with a little help from my friends, as I told somebody. Shout out to that song with Joe Cocker. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because without my friend Darius directing it, without the playwright, um, I won't say his name necessarily, but Carr, without him letting me like, use his show, and then both of them basically making a three-man team with myself included when necessary for us to have production meetings and, us, basically bouncing ideas off of and doing what need be even before the show went up. Like I said, Darius's like ideas to the nth degree that he had, and him being such a great director, and then of course the crew that we had, from my girl Shay Shay working the spotlight to well I'm trying to find ways not to say people's names, but MZ doing the lighting and coming in with a million ideas. Like everybody. And then like I said, it's a 7-person cast. So I was just one of 7. So the other 6 people doing what they needed to do when they needed to do it. My dad, who is not gonna sit up here and straight up be like, if it was bad, he would just be like, "That sucks. You're terrible." But if it's not good, he's not gonna lie to me. And then my dad being like, "Man, you lucked up this time, man." He said, "Like you could have had a good show." He said, "You really got a talented cast this time." He's like, "Yeah," because we didn't hold auditions for it. We basically messaged everybody to be a part of the show, and called in, people, and was like, "Yo, I got a show. I'm doing a company for the first time. Um, People know me and Darius are really really good friends, and we were like, "Yo, I'm doing a show. He's directing it. We'd love for you to be a part of it." And then people say, "Yeah." And I mean, the love that I have for my mom, been acting forever. When I say, "Hey, mama, we need a baby boomer female to be a part of the show," and she was like, "Yeah, let me check my calendar." Oh, of course, duh. And it's just like, so, yeah. And one of the main people to get compliments, aside from the show itself and people here and there getting compliments, one of the recurring compliments on top of that is my mom. And I'm not just saying that because that's like my mom, but a lot of people, and you've seen my mom, man. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people were giving her like compliments out the wazoo. Nah, man, it's one of the things where it's like it's humbling to say the least when your first show and like I said, the turnout. We had out of six shows, we had 221 people come, and that is amazing because if we would have had 30 people come every night, that would have been crazy. 30 times six is 180. We had more than that. So, you know what I'm saying? Like the first day, I remember these numbers because I was on the other side and I was checking, goddamn it. The first day we had 30 people, and that was like, oh shit. And I remember some of my friends when we backstage, like, waiting, to get the go ahead to start the show. And we backstage, we hear people, and then I hear some of my friends like, "Oh man, there's people out there," and I'm like, "Ain't that the point?" But part of me is thinking like it was part of the opening night jitters of like, "Oh shit, we really got to do this," and then part of me was thinking that they were kind of being like, not that they didn't believe me or nothing, but part of me were like, "Oh, I'm doing a friend show," and it's like, "Oh dang, people showed up to this," like that type thing, like his first, what? So yeah, no man, it was amazing. I was talking to another one of my friends, uh, this another baby boomer, and he ended up joining the show in the 11th hour when somebody had to drop right before we started rehearsals. And I told him the only reason I didn't ask him was I thought he, being an actor, but I thought he would have just wanted to watch. So I was like, "That's the only reason I didn't hit you up. I thought you would have just wanted to be in the audience. I know you support me." He's like, "No, man." He said, I would love it." So, but I was talking to him. Um, I think Tech Week, the for those who don't know, the last rehearsal, last week of rehearsals before opening night, and I was like, I just hope people show up. I'm not sure, blah blah blah. And he basically, in so many ways, was like, "Nah, man." He said, "Don't underestimate yourself, man. I think we're gonna get a good turnout." Blah 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 blah. And man, when the start of the second weekend, because we did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and started the second weekend when that Friday, when like 56 people showed up after we already had the first like weekend, and we ran out of programs to the point where like I tried to get programs the day before. I didn't have enough time. So my dad was watching the door, which is why again I love my family because they helped me out so much. My cousin watched the door the first weekend, and my dad watched the door the second weekend. And my dad was like, "Yeah, man." He said it actually kind of looked bad that you didn't have programs. This, that, this, that. And at first, my first thing was, "Oh man, if we had programs, people couldn't get over it." And I was kind of like, "Ah." But then like, "Yeah." And then I thought about it, and I was like, "Wait, no, hold on, chill out." I could see not having programs that does look bad, blah blah blah. But then I thought about it even further, and I was like, "Wait, we had so many people come that we ran out of programs. Yeah, that looked bad, but holy shit, that's amazing." So it was at first it was like an F you, but then it was like, oh damn, no, he's right. Then it was like, wait, yo, that's the least of our problems. If anything, that's an amazing problem to have. Holy fuck. Yo. So yeah. And then I made sure I had enough programs for the next time. And then of course we had the biggest turnout on the last night, which is amazing because that was a Sunday 2 o'clock matinee show. So
Damn.
to have your biggest crowd
Yeah.
at a 2 o'clock Sunday show is
Saying
amazing.
something.
Yeah, and then we had Q&As at the end of
Okay.
every show. So yeah, because it was so the piece is called A Colored Funeral, and by saying that, people might be able to Google it and actually find the playwright's name, but whatever. But the piece is that, and what it is it's not like a through line story. So it's not like each scene um linear and like, builds on itself and it's like telling a story or whatever. The whole point was how the black community deals with death.
Okay.
And it's told in different vignettes. So each scene is its own thing and it's told in different ways. So there's one part where it's just somebody singing. There's another part where like there were three rappers. Of course, myself, I definitely rapped one of the parts. Then there were different monologues. There were a few like just scenes. One of the scenes is like a mock talk show, stuff like that. And like for instance, the monologues one, and it was some hard hitting stuff, and some of it was funny. But like I did a monologue about a soldier who Mama, I'm coming back from the war, but you find out that he's coming back from the war because he's coming back in a casket, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then like there was like I said, we're rapping and it's choosing sides, but it's sides CIDE because it's supposed to be talk it's a commentary.
Suicide, homicide, genocide.
It's a commentary on how hip hop is obsessed with death. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I rap from the point of view of homicide. Um and it's stuff like that. But there was some comedy too. Like there was like, and this was a scene that people who know that me and my mom are mother and son. There was a scene where we got to play off each other in this very like straight man, fall guy, vaudeville esque type thing, and the whole thing is like, she opens it up talking about like, you ever met somebody who's so late they're gonna be late to their own funeral? So she's basically filling me in about how my character was late to his own funeral, and she tells me how the service went. And me and my mom are playing off each other. And my mom's a straight man, and I'm the fall guy. So everything she said, and I'm just like the idiot. But yeah, but it was so much fun. And like I said, but with something like that, with an all black cast talking about black issues to that like that depth, I was like, we need to have a Q&A. And we had a Q&A at the end of every show, and we had a good amount of the audience decide to wait. And I told people, like, hey, if you got to leave, no hard feelings, because I don't want people to be like, oh my, oh, I got to wait, because I was like, no, it's late. You just had to a 2 hour show. You got to go. Don't feel bad. Get out of here. But if you want to wait, please. And what I loved about that was during the whole run of the show, so opening night, when I looked over, the entire cast stayed on stage, and I wasn't going to make them. I always prefaced it every night by like, yo, some of us will stay up here to do it. I didn't say the entire cast will, but opening night, I looked over and the entire cast stayed on stage. But during the run, as we got closer, the rehearsal run, as we got closer to opening night, I brought it to the cast, and it seemed like people were a little kind of like not all in and like, maybe, And then I think after we started to get to know each other better, the chemistry got better, the bonds got better, the show got better. People saw that. They saw like the reception in the opening night and everything like that. I think the cast was like, no, I do want to sit out here and talk to these people and do this Q&A. So when I looked over and I saw that the entirety of the cast was there, I was like, that's what's up. Like we're a team, we're a family. Like, let's go. Um, but yeah, and then some nights too, we had the director sit on stage with us. The playwright came, I want to say 3 shows out of the 6, and he sat on stage with us. And then of course the last show, when we were all up there, I was like, we're gonna have our Q&A, but this being the last one, I would love to invite the playwright and the director. So the whole cast with the playwright and the director was sitting on stage to have this Q&A. No, it was beautiful. I've had people tell me who missed it, hey, I'm so sorry I missed your show, which I'm like, yo, we're busy. We're grown adults. We are busy, having husbands, wives, chasing our own dreams, raising kids. Everybody busy. So thank you for saying that. But I get it. But everybody who's telling me they missed it, they're like, man, I'm sorry I missed it. Not just to support you, but I'm sorry I missed it because I heard it was so good. And I'm like, damn. So yeah. No, I shoot, Ibn. Shout out to Big Bro. Ibn, who not that he like doesn't like the plays that I do, but Ibn told me a while ago, he's like, I don't really like going to live theater. I only go to support, me and my mom. And he came and Ibn was like, man, he's like, this was a really good show. So everybody who liked it really enjoyed themselves. So yeah, I almost gave away a little something of something that I'm planning for something. But anyway, yeah, I might tell you that.
Already working on a second one? Damn.
Well, the thing
going in.
The thing is, man,
No. Go
No,
ahead.
I know. You weren't saying that. I'm just saying the thing is, so many people say stuff like, "I want to do an album. I want to." I'm using myself for an example. I want to put on a show. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then once they do it, they're like, "Yay!" And it's like, "Yo, take as much time as you need in between to break or do whatever. Like, get your mind back, whatever." But if you really want to do this, whatever this of the this is, you can't just let it be a one and done. So I got to get back on the grind, and it was a grind. I was telling one of my coworkers I lost a few pounds in the middle of fucking working a 9 to 5 and doing all that shit. But you can't just let it just end. So now I'm already thinking about what the next show is gonna be. So yeah. Uh, but I mean, I could sit up here and keep on going on and on and on and on and on and on for the next, 60 minutes. But yeah, nah, man, it was wonderful, and it's crazy that I can put on my resume, theater, film, uh, like training, whatever, and then I can say like I assistant directed, and now I can say produce. Like that's wild. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So yeah.
That you can, man. I'm proud.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So let's see. Sports. Cardinals not doing good this season.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I forgot we do the usual like sports update.
I don't got much to say except the Cardinals ain't doing that good this season.
Before we go to sports, if I can ask, can we talk about what you were doing?
What are I doing? Right? This ain't about me. This is about you. Just the Aquarian has risen. People
But
need
no,
to know.
you know what I mean when I say
People
that.
need to
Okay.
know.
I'll take that then.
I did some traveling. I got to go to LA twice. I went to LA. So during the month of June to July, I went to LA. 2 weeks later, I went to Daytona. 2 weeks later, I went back to LA.
Was what you did, and I'm not gonna say nothing. What you did in Daytona because of what you did in LA?
Nope. What I did in Daytona is what I always do in Daytona. And the only reason anybody has to go to Daytona, because Daytona's not the best place. CEO. This isn't from this year, but it's the nearest badge I had to me. CEO. Community Effort Orlando Fighting Game Tournaments. Ironically, I picked the most recent one that wasn't even in Daytona. That's funny. But went there. That was about as fun as always. Street Fighter. It was the first big major for Street Fighter 6. What?
No, I told you how I feel about Street Fighter tournament play. I understand that.
Street Fighter 6. It's a new one.
No, I know.
6.
I'm just because we talked about it on the last one a few weeks ago, or if not the last one of the last ones. And it's like I know like Street Fighter tournament play is amazing, like professional gamer minds at work. It's just not exciting for me to
even watch this new one.
I haven't watched 6. I just remember watching a lot of 5. That's all. So.
I thought you didn't even watch 5. I thought you only watched 4.
No, I watched a lot. I watched some Street Fighter 5 here and there, and then found out I ain't like watching it.
I thought you only watched 4. I'm like, 5's already passed, and now
Street Fighter tournament play, at least 5. I haven't seen 6, but Street Fighter 5 tournament play was just a whole lot of footsie, as they call it. Like you filling your opponent out, and that's not exciting for me to watch.
The funny thing is, each game has less of that, which is why I think it's funny. That's why I'm saying I'm pretty sure that was 4. Because five was considered a lot more. Well, not a lot more. It was considered more scrubby than 4, and now there are people who talk about 6 being scrubby. Like, is the quote-unquote footsies or neutral gonna always be a part of it? Yes. Does 6 have a mechanic that allows you to dash damn near full screen instantly and have plus advantage on all your moves? Yes. Yes, it does for like very little meter, and it's one thing that people hate about it. Uh, but the general consensus for the game is that it's very well received. It's better received than five
Okay.
was on release.
I thought
Um,
people loved five.
hmm?
I thought people loved five. Really? It was just out for so long. That's what
People
it was.
like, well, so was four. Every Street Fighter's out a long time.
Okay.
Um, they initial, especially on release, because by the end of five, a lot more people were okay with it. And even when you have people that don't like a particular Street Fighter game, especially in its first couple years after coming out, it's going to be the most popular. It's the the, the pioneer. It's what every other fighter, it's the grandfather. But Street Fighter V's launch was terrible.
Really?
It ruined anything. It ruined that game's perception. Even 7 years later, after they had fixed a lot of the problems with the launch, people still didn't care because the launch was that bad.
The fuck did they do in the launch to make it that fucking bad?
Nothing, essentially. They essentially did nothing, and that was the problem. Um, they rushed releasing it because
Okay.
they really wanted to focus on the competitive scene as opposed to the casuals. They're like, okay, we don't have a lot of features to the game, but we really want to start our next pro tour this year instead of next year. So rather than have an extra year of Ultra Street Fighter 4, which they could have done if they did, even though some people were like, we want 5 now, they would have just had to hold that, and then 5 could have came out and been fine. But they decided to listen to the people that are like, new game now. We need to get rid of this Elena gameplay in Street Fighter 4. So they released it, and it had, I think, 16 characters, which, okay, whatever. But it really only had versus mode, online, and survival mode. Didn't even have an arcade mode. The closest thing it had to story mode was like 3 fights with some like still framed images for it instead of like cutscenes and nothing in between. It was the loosest definition of a story. There was
So
like
they
no single player content whatsoever. So if you didn't play the game uh competitively or just play people online, you'll get this game and there's nothing in it for you. Meanwhile, fucking NetherRealm games or the people that make Mortal Kombat, they're making your Injustices, your MKs 9 through 11. They're just have all this single player shit with it. So just for and I think they released the cinematic story mode like 5 months later as a free DLC, but it was like, gotta download the story 5 months later. And then eventually they came out with Arcade Edition, which added arcade mode. Now that arcade, like, it was a lot more completed game once all was said and done, but 5 didn't have that going for it reputation wise. Combine it with the fact that after the initial honeymoon phase of the game for the pro players, it was considered far more of a scrubby and less skillful game than 4.
so they
And
rushed it
just
out for the pros,
so even
and
they
then the
started
pros
losing
that fuck
favor of
it.
it. Also, the online wasn't the best. They decided to do, they halfway listened to what people wanted from online. Without getting too much into the details of how the two of them work, because I'm not a computer scientist, they most fighting games historically, when it comes to online play, have used one version of netcode, and this is the most layman's thing that I can think, called, let's say, delayed based netcode. If you ever played a game online and you've experienced lag, and you know what lag is, but if the lag was like you're just moving really fucking slow, like you're underwater and you're
Okay.
trying to do shit, that's usually a sign of delay based net code from what I know. What people wanted was this thing called rollback net code. It's a more optimal version of it where sometimes rather than going underwater when it lags, like a lot of computer shit happens to make it where you're practically playing. If it's running smoothly, you just feel like you're playing offline. If you do have lag, what I hated about rollback when it first started was rather than go underwater, you just kind of teleport it, or it would roll back to whatever situation actually happened. So you'll see something happen on screen, like let's say I hit somebody with a kick to the face. I'd see the hit connect, and the next thing I know, it rolls back to them blocking, and now they're punishing me. And I was like, wait, what? Now, that's when the lag is terrible. When it's normal or whatever, that doesn't happen nearly as bad. And like I said, it's practically like you're playing offline, even though you're online. It is the superior netcode to delay based. Now that said, Street Fighter V was like, we'd hear you. You guys want the rollback netcode, so we came up with our own style of doing rollback netcode, and it just really fucks up to the point to where when it did lag, it kind of forced the lag on one of the players rather than both. So you got one person who's just dealing with their opponent just teleporting all over the screen, and the other person just this guy's not doing anything. And they had their own servers to connect to, which led to the fact that it was not a good launch. Bottom line. But the launch was just not good. The online was not good. People tried to patch the online themselves on PC. They're like, oh, I see what they tried to do with the rollback netcode. I added these 2 or 3 things to the netcode, and now it runs like normal. But
so, like, people tried to do it like just regular.
Yeah, there was a PC mod to fix the netcode. Apparently, it was like a line or two of code that they had to fix.
Like unofficial mod.
Yeah, well, yeah, but said unofficial mod. The problem is if that game was only for PC, okay, cool. Kind of a workaround, even though Capcom wouldn't necessarily like it. The problem is the game had crossplay between PC and PS4. And when someone with the PC mod bought someone on the PS4 who didn't have said mod,
it's just almost like why even play?
Exactly, because again, now for realsies, all the lag is forced on that PS4 user, which led to far more of an upcry about it. And rather than just, I don't know, adapt the change into their code, like look at what happened and go type. I know it's not that easy, computer programmers, calm down, but still, this happened in like year 2. The game was out 7 years. So rather than just adapt it into their own netcode, or hell, pay the guy to work for Capcom, like, congratulations, you're gonna be part of our netcode department. Very unlikely, but hell, Sonic paid, or the Sega paid some Sonic fans who were making fan games to make Sonic Mania, and that turned out pretty okay. They, rather than do that, they said, well, this mod is making it worse for the PlayStation users, so we're just gonna ban any account that like use this mod, and we're also going to install something into people's computers to make it where you can't, or like as part of the game, so that you can't mod it. Unfortunately, whatever they used a similar thing to a rootkit or type of virus. It wasn't a virus, but the antivirus software sure as hell picked up on it, because it's not the way it should have been put into some computers. So they really ruined Street Fighter V's reputation with that, because you just got people like, oh, now you're installing viruses on people's computers? So they chose the worst. So they had a bad launch and chose the worst ways to try and deal with said launch.
Meanwhile, the consumer is like, oh, you really don't give a fuck. That's how everybody was saying. You don't care about us at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Yoshinori Ono, the guy who was pretty much the creative director behind 4 as well as 5, his ideas of what to do with the game started to not keep up with what the fan base was into, and He got kind of left behind. Eventually, they cut him from Capcom. He went to work for another company, and he's doing fine now. He's oh no, he'll be okay. Um, the people that they got for like the last season of Street Fighter V really helped put some polish on the game. Really decided, hey, rather than be very secretive about whatever we're trying to do when it comes to patches or releasing stuff, only to have the shit get leaked anyway, and then people are now mad because it got leaked and all of this shit. We're just gonna be more transparent with you guys. Here's monthly updates or quarterly updates. We're working on 6. When we got more info, we'll let you know. We're working on 5. Here's this. We got this character. Here's the so and so. So they changed the direction around to fix their perception and got their perception of. And like I said, I liked 5 all the way through because I am a tournament player, and the game was I could play versus other people right off the bat. Cool. I can wait 4 months for a free cinematic story mode that I never finished because the story's not that good. And I say that as someone who actually listens. And I like fighting game storylines because they could get convoluted as fuck. And Street Fighters is no exception.
You explained Mortal Kombat on one of these episodes, and you you tried to explain it as simply as possible, and it was still a lot of shit.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna go into other character side stories and stuff. You don't need to know what was going on with Reptile. Now I wish to return to my homeland before it was destroyed by Shao Kahn. One of his endings in MK4. Anyway, the bottom line is Street Fighters is wacky enough, but 6 is out now. It had a better promotional campaign going in. They went the complete opposite direction of Street Fighter V when it came to single player content. Like there's a mode in it called World Tour, which is not open world, but about as close as you're gonna get, given the fact that it's what it is. But a semi-open world thing where you get to make your own custom character and go around the Street Fighter world, learning from other Street Fighter characters, learning from actual Street Fighter characters, and you can pretty much fight damn near anybody you see walking on the street.
Have you bought 6?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah,
that wasn't like a judgment. That was just a genuine question.
You know me.
Right.
But no, I played Street Fighter 6. But yeah, like literally anybody, just about anybody on the street. I'd say about 90% of the NPCs walking around in World Tour mode, you could just walk up to and either challenge them to a fight or just walk up and do a special move on them, and it goes into a fight. So it's like, that's pretty cool to just have an open world Street Fighter where if you feel like it, you could just go around beating the shit out of everybody you see.
I like that you can do the special move type move in the open world.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of them it's like, how the hell do I get over there? I know, spinning bird kick. You float over a gap, or you sure you can to jump higher.
Didn't Mortal Kombat came out with their next installment too, didn't they? Or not yet?
It comes out in a month or two. It's either early August or early September. Holy shit, that's soon.
I thought it already came out. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It comes out later this summer. Mortal Kombat 1, for reasons explained in the previous video. That's why I went into that story, because I had to explain why it was called 1. And yes, I agree, that's stupid. Just call it fucking 12.
Well, I mean, I already talked about on one of these podcasts. I already talked about how
God of War did it too, so I'm not being hypocritic.
Well, so before I talk about what I was gonna say, how did God of War number their shit?
1, 2, 3, God of War. Oh, sorry, God of War, God of War 2, God of War 3. I'm not, if you want to count Ascension, sure, whatever. But the 4th main installment was just God of War. Sometimes parentheses 2018, so you know which God of War it is. And then God of War Ragnarok. But you could have just called it.
1 and 4 have the same name.
Yes, you could have just called it God of War 4, but they were going for that whole we're rebooting / not rebooting the series. And if God of War 4 would have been a full on reboot, like this is Kratos and boy in Norse mythology, but it ain't the Kratos you do. It's just another guy who happens to be named Kratos and looks similar, but we're rebooting the series. You know
Right.
what I mean? Okay.
Right.
But it's literally a continuation after 3. It's not the same cutscene continuation like 2 to 3 was, but God of War 4 story does not happen without the first 3 games. It's a continuation. That's not a reboot.
Well, it's like I was gonna say that's like with Scream, and I know I said on one of these where they went Scream, like the original '96 Scream, they went Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4. Then years later, I want to say it was 2021, they do Scream and then Scream 6. So Scream 4 came out in 2011, and then like fucking 10 years later or some shit, 10, 11 years later, really, because I think it was it 22? Something like one of it, whatever. Then 10, 11 years later, then they come out with 4, then they come out with Scream, and then Scream 6. And the reason why they did that, I believe, the reason why they did that was because one, they wanted to capitalize off the name nostalgia and not say 5. They just wanted because it had been 10 years. So just to say Scream and be the movie, oh God, oh shit, Scream is coming back. Oh shit. And then they do Scream 6 because now you know it's a continuation. So yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Scream 5 was good, Scream 6 was better, depending on how you look at it, people say it, and I agree, whatever. But it was just one of them things where it was just like Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 6. Shoot, shit, Shaft. I ain't seen none of the Shaft movies. Damn, now I think about it. But Shaft was like Shaft, Shaft,
and
Shaft. Like, what the
it's
fuck?
Shaft every time. And that also kind of.
But they're sequels. Like, they're all sequels.
I know. They're all sequels. And it's always like the son of the last one.
But it's like Shaft. Like, come on now. Like, what the fuck? Shit, the Halloween franchise. Like, hold on, let me see.
Oh my god! No, we've talked about Halloween and Fast and the Furious.
Oh, we have.
Because I was gonna say I don't soapbox often, or at least I don't feel like I do. I feel like I'm a little wishy-washy on the fence about a lot of topics.
Well, somewhat of the point of this show is for us to go on rants anyway, but go ahead.
But I'm saying I don't soapbox often. Like I said, usually even most of the time, my argument is pick both sides, listen to the whole story, win. But one of the things that I know I do is fucking sequel theming and naming. Hell, I'm more willing to give the Shafts a pass because all 3 of them are named that, and that's clearly just what they're gonna do with their series. That's just the thing,
right? I give you that.
Like once you hit the rule of 3, if you will, once you hit the 3rd one, it's like okay, that's just what y'all are doing.
That's just what y'all doing, right?
I'll see you in 15, 20 years when that guy's son also makes a Shaft movie. Okay. Or, a character about that guy's son. And then you have all 4 Shafts in the movie.
Without going super into it, I have to. Halloween in 78, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, then Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, then Halloween 2, then Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. Now, the problem with that, though, just like Scream wasn't necessarily a reboot. It was more like a kind of reimagining, like sequel, but like new group thing. So it wasn't like they were rebooting it, but they were almost like starting it anew, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the problem with Halloween was they were like trying to retcon and reboot the fucking franchise like 3-4 times. So that's why they go from Halloween to 2, then with the Rob Zombie films in like the late 2000s, then they go back to Halloween, and then in 2018 they do Halloween again, which is a direct sequel from the original in 78. Like none of that shit happened. That shit is hilarious. But that's because, like I said, that's because they trying to, and I know we have talked about this, but when it comes to horror franchises and action movie franchises, if it's any franchise that's gonna go on forever, it's gonna be one of them 2. Because like the Saw movies, the first Saw being my favorite movie. I don't care how much people look at me with a side eye. but that fucking movie has fucking like when you think that shit is dead, they like, oh, but wait a minute. So yeah,
Who looks at you with a side eye for thinking the first Saw movie was good?
well, for it being my favorite movie,
Okay.
I get looked at, and I
No,
mean,
that's fair. No, if it's your favorite, I can see that, especially considering some of the movies you think are bad. But having a favorable opinion of the first Saw movie, at least it's not like Saw 4 or Jigsaw or something like that. And no, I've only really seen the first one, but the bottom line is I know that diminishing returns and how these franchises go. By the time you get to like Saw 8, what are we doing here?
Jigsaw wasn't bad. It was actually surprisingly pretty good. Saw 4 is Garbaggio.
There you go.
Like
Garbaggio.
grade A, like grade A, stewed to a perfection, simmered to the point of bon appetit, chef's kiss, just like the most wonderful, wunderbar garbage that you could ever imagine. No, Saw. If you're gonna watch the Saw franchise and you're not watching any of the ones within the last 5 years, which really should have only been two, then watch 1, 2, 3, and stop. Because 4, 5, 6, and 7 is only around for fucking people who either saw it in the theater, which I didn't, or people who fucking have to see how the story ends, like me. So, anyway.
Yeah, now Saw 7 was your favorite movie of all time. That would be what the fuck. But I mean,
Saw 3D.
yeah. I do mean Saw 3D.
Oh my god. That was in the 2010s. Remember the 2010s where everything was like this reboot 3D? They fucking had Jackass. Me, you, and Ibn saw Jackass 3D. They had Jackass in 3D. They had fucking very Harold and Kumar Christmas in fucking 3D.
I didn't see Christmas. I only saw White Castle, the original, and then
You ever seen Escape from Guantanamo Bay?
Mm-mm.
Oh shit. Okay.
I didn't hear it was good. So
well, I was gonna say the only one that like you would be missing out on would be the first one if you saw any of them.
Yeah, I saw the first one.
2 wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that good. No. But no, the Harold and Kumar's Go to White Castle is fucking classic. Like I don't care. Like that's classic. Like when you come to your stoner movie classics, it's like that fucking Dude, Where's My Car? Fucking How High? Like your stoner movie classics. Like yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about Dude, Where's My Car, but fair enough.
Well, maybe Dude, Where's My Car
I look at those motherfuckers, and the first thing I was like, I look at those dudes, and I definitely think they're stoners. Not sure how much of a classic stoner film that is.
That's why I say it might not be classic. It's like top tier stoner movie, but maybe not classic. Classic. But How High is on the classic stoner movie list, and what's Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle is up there. Shit like that. Which I have not seen for some reason.
Well, you're not a stoner. I mean, that doesn't excuse you seeing the other ones. I get it.
I was just about to say, I'm making a fucking stoner movie classic list. The fuck? But yeah, no. I'm trying to think of some more like stoner movie classics now. Now that I got like thinking down this. Oh, I wouldn't put Pineapple Express on the classic list, but I would put it right up there with Do Where's My Car, where it's like top tier. It's not classic, but it's top tier. But see, that's what I was saying. Like, just you haven't seen Pineapple Express?
Mm-mm.
That's some good shit. Again, like I say, I'd be jumping out the window to say classic, but it's some good shit. It was up there with in that Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow type movie.
Yep, that's part of why I didn't, because I think I had started to get burned out on seeing Seth Rogen everywhere around that time. And so I was just like, so you've seen one Seth Rogen, you've seen them all. Kind of how I felt, which I've noticed happened a lot of times with various movies on my other show, This Guy Hasn't Seen. There's a lot of times where, why did you see that? Well, you see, this year, or whether it's me or Bill, one of us is like, well, this year I was like, I think Bill had School of Rock.
Okay.
And I'm like, he's like, why haven't you seen it? I'm like, I was kind of getting burnt out of Jack Black or something like that or whatever. It was like,
Look at
I don't
you.
need to see a lot of Jack Black. And then I do 47 Ronin. Like, come you didn't see that? I was getting burnt out of, or not even burnt out on Keanu Reeves, but he just didn't really. At the time, it was right before John Wick and before like Keanu's career revitalization. So it was like, I don't really need to see it. And looking at the trailers and stuff for 47 Ronin, that was the same reason I hadn't seen it for a while.
47 Ronin didn't look that good to me. I haven't seen it. But it didn't
look
bad. It didn't look the most exciting. Right?
It's a movie.
Touché.
It's a movie. To not really spoil how we felt about it, it's a movie.
Touché.
But yeah, you can go watch that. I'm pretty sure that was last week's episode on the channel. But yeah, that's usually the case where I notice that happens a lot with me. Is like, if I'm not in on the ground floor with something and it gets too big before I get around to it, or if I hear about it too much, I'm just like, I don't fucking.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like when it comes to stuff in, your big mainstream like Hollywood movies, when somebody becomes like the it person and it's like their time, there's a stretch of like, how many years where they're like in movies. Like Jim Carrey was like early 90s as fuck. Seth Rogen had his time. Kevin Hart was in movies like a motherfucker. Eddie Murphy, Will Smith, they had their time where they were like the leading man in like a whole bunch of these shits. Fucking Tom Cruise had a stretch where he was in a whole bunch of shit. Like it just happens where, so I get it.
Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, The Rock. Yeah. He was in a lot of shit at one point. And then kind of went away and then came back and was in a lot of shit in a different way. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Yeah, because it was like when he was first leaving wrestling, then he was like in stuff, but not as much. And then he like had this resurgence of like, now I'm bigger and buffer, and he was in new shit.
So, I'm bigger, buffer, and I'm in the jungle. Always in the jungle.
I will say this, man. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle had no business being that good.
Was that the first or second one?
That was the first. Both of them were good. But the first one was the
first
really
one with The Rock. I enjoyed the first one with The Rock.
It had no business being. I thought it was going to be fucking stupid. It was amazing. That movie was such a fun time. I really enjoyed myself. That and speaking of Rock movies that I did not expect to be that good, Jungle Cruise with him and Emily Blunt. You hated it.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm laughing that, speaking of other Rock movies, Jungle Cruise, right after talking about him being in a bunch of jungle movies.
About him being in the jungle.
Yeah, just straight up Jungle Cruise.
Hold up, wait a minute. Oh, shit.
You ever see the movie Red Notice?
Yeah.
End up in the jungle at some point. The Rundown, all about being in the Brazilian jungle. Being in the woods. That was before that became his thing.
Scorpion
King, Africa, so no. But like I said, that's again before it became his thing. The Rundown, I think doing the Rundown, he's like, you know what, I want, if I keep this up, then I'm gonna do more movies where I go to the fucking jungle.
But that is funny though, Jungle Cruise, right?
It was when that movie came out, and I'm not sure if I saw it on like Pitch Meeting or something else. Somebody mentioned The Rock and jungle movies, and I was like,
that's funny.
Wait, he is in a lot of things with the jungle involved. It's like, yeah, let's just straight up have a movie called Jungle Cruise and just put The Rock in the jungle. It's The Rock. He's got to end up in the jungle. Actually, I think it was Pitch Meeting because it also just kept being a repeated thing. Like later, like when he talked about Red Notice, he's like, and then the next thing you know, they end up in the jungle because The Rock's in the movie. Oh yes, you have to do it. It's in the contract.
Funny, I never thought about that. But that's like speaking to Tom Cruise and like stuff that actors always do in their movies and shit. Tom Cruise, and I'm watching the latest Mission Impossible, which was really, really motherfucking good. I saw that with my friend Jeremy, and Tom Cruise
already. Did that come out already?
The one that's in theaters right now, yeah, Dead Reckoning.
Oh, it's in theaters. Okay.
Yeah. And Tom Cruise is in that motherfucker, and the one thing he always does is fucking sprint his ass off in every fucking movie, especially Mission Impossibles. And I mean, not just a little, no, long stretches, and not just this movie, but like movies. It's long stretches where they just hold the camera and Tom is. Just...
I noticed that in Fallout, which I also had to watch for the channel. And I need to go back and watch all the other Mission Impossibles. I had only really seen
they are good. They are good.
Fallout. But yeah, that I heard someone say recently, or I heard somewhere recently, a quote of him saying like, Harrison Ford's doing Indiana Jones at 81. I plan to be doing Mission Impossibles at 81.
Hey, facts.
Man, I hope he, for his sake, I hope he can get to that point. At the same time, that man
shit that he fucking does
keeps doing and getting away with surviving. He is rolling them dice. So I don't know if he'll make it to 81.
There's one part in Dead Reckoning where this dude fucking like free fall, like, well, I'm not giving it away unless you don't want me to give away none of the shit.
Okay.
I won't give. I was just gonna say like he one of the stunts he does, but I mean I won't say it. But I'll speak of another one then. I forget which one it was. I want to say Rogue Nation, where like the movie opens up, and obviously they did it the safest way possible. But the motherfucker opens up with him fucking like hanging off a goddamn plane. Like, I don't know if you saw that shit. He's like hanging out the side of that motherfucker, and it opens up like that.
I don't know about hanging from a plane, but I've seen him skydive from a plane and have a fight in the air. That was Fallout.
And then the thing is, the reason why it's like, oh man, that really looks like Tom Cruise, is because they can hold the camera right there and not do trickery, because it is him. He's doing all that shit.
No, they actually were skydiving. That's the dumbest.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me fight Superman in the air while skydiving.
And that's the thing, is like when you find out that this isn't like done on a set, or this isn't done with camera trickery or CGI, like CGI in certain parts that are just too like fake, like you can't just do that. But you find out that he really fucking did this shit. What? I still remember, you want to talk about Tom Cruise being old, being in shape, and still be able to do this shit. I remember it might have been Rogue Nation, but I still remember there was one part in there, and I feel like I might have talked about it on another episode because we had so many of these. But this man chained to a pipe, like a long ass pipe, chained to a pipe. He's shirtless, and first of all, he's like late 50s, abs and chiseled as fuck, chained to this pipe, and this man shimmied up the fucking pipe and flipped over it. And I'm like, what?
The fucking across the street jump in fucking Fallout. Some of the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. Like, it's awesome. It was a cool thing. Don't get me wrong. Much respect to Tom Cruise. But it's some of the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. Dude, literally, they have like goes from a fucking long ass run to jump across the street from one building to another. Now, in the shot, he barely catches on, like kind of damn near falls to his death, but he makes it go up. And he broke his foot on that. Did you know that was like the 8th or 9th take where he kept moving the thing back so that he could get the jump to be that kind? He was aiming for the near failure.
Because it looked better and more realistic.
Yeah,
and I guess
he was aiming to almost fail the jump. And if he's doing shit like that, and he's taking takes because the last one wasn't dangerous enough, and he's planning on doing this till he's 80 something. That's fucking crazy. But more power to you, Tom. I like it. Keep doing it.
I love watching this shit.
Keep doing it.
And then, like I said, and then the fucking real world ramifications that later on you find out in that take that he actually broke his foot.
Yeah, the late
on the take they used, he broke his foot. It's like, fuck, you can't get no more realistic than that.
Isn't that the butterfly effect that led to the fucking Superman lip CGI in the Justice League movie? Because Superman grew the mustache to film Tom Cruise movie, and they had to like the filming got delayed by him breaking his ankle, so he still had the mustache to finish. But then they wanted to do Justice League, and he's like, "I'm only ever a couple scenes anyway, and I'm not shaving this mustache because I'm doing Mission Impossible."
That's funny.
And
That's
so
like,
they CGI'd in the original cut over his lip, over where his mustache was. Man just has a CGI lip thing, and it's not done well. Based on once people tell you that it's there, you can't help but notice.
hard to not see it. It's like the shawarma scene at the end of the first Avengers, and Chris Evans, Captain America's like got his hand over his face, and you find out because later on he was going to go film like fucking Snow White and the Hunts. Was that it?
I have no idea. I don't know what he was trying to film, but I
He's
know
going to
what you're
film something.
talking
It might not have
about.
been. It might not have been Snow White and the Huntsman.
But I actually liked it because I figured a World War II as Captain America, fresh out the fucking vat, Captain America, sitting here like, I ain't eating this foreign shit. Like, nothing wrong with shawarma. Shawarma's probably amazing.
But I get what you
I
mean.
could see Captain America being the one person at that table like, this don't work for me. Even if it's not on a, this is foreign, but being on a, this don't work for me. While everybody else is sitting there. Because, hell, Tony looked like he was trying to decide whether or not he liked it. He's like, and he's the one that suggested to go get shawarma. So Cap's sitting there being like, yeah, I ain't about this. I'm like, okay, I like everybody having their own little response to the shawarma. Like, I'm pretty sure Thor was eating the shit out of it because, well,
Thor. Speaking of eating the shit out of everything, hopefully you will eat up our socials. Go ahead, visit them, frequent them, become one with them, my child. So if you would like to follow us on our respective socials, you can go ahead and follow yours truly. Please go ahead. Like my best friend said, I did start a production company. So if you would like to find and follow that on Facebook, go ahead and give it a like. It is called Aquarian Rising Productions. Give that a like on Facebook, and you can go ahead and stay up to date with everything that I'm doing, whether you are in the St. Louis area or not. Also, if you would like to follow yours truly, I do make music from time to time. So anywhere you stream your music, you can go ahead and look me up on the platform under the name Superjaz, which is spelled Superjaz. A few years ago, I dropped my debut solo album, My Secret Identity. Of course, I'm going to be working on a new one soon, but to find My Secret Identity, go ahead and look that up. You might have to put in Superjaz, My Secret Identity, since I'm not that famous yet. Also on Twitter, you can go ahead and look me up on there under the handle Superjaz2, so that's Superjaz number 2. And you can go ahead and find and follow me on Instagram under the name Forever Superjaz. The word forever is spelled correctly. Where can they find you, man?
well, you can find me here every week, every Wednesday on the Whatever We Want podcast. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube under the channel Feogrande. That is Feo Grande. I have a show on there that I also mentioned on this episode earlier called This Guy Hasn't Seen. I do it with a good friend of mine and good friend of the show, Bill Smith.
Shout out to Bill.
Talk about various movies and stuff. And if 47 Ronin was last week, I am pretty sure this week it's Kickboxer. So check that out. Jean-Claude Van Damme, since apparently, as far as Jazz has told me, no one really knows what Kickboxer is. So, Kickboxer, Jean-Claude Van Damme. So, yeah, go check it out. It's 80s hilarity. And if it's not Kickboxer this week, it'll be next week. Anyway, you can also find me on Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in. Stop on by. Eventually, I may have an Instagram. I don't know how to use it, though. I'm old.
Like, it really ain't. You just have to have pictures that are worth.
Gotta have an interesting life.
Not even that. The amount of people that all they post is random memes, or the amount of people that make their life seem more interesting than it actually is. So you ain't gonna do all that.
But you get my point. Like I would have to figure that out. but I may eventually have one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good enough for there. I think I talked
Well,
about what I want to talk about. Huh?
well, whether it be about Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 6, whether it be about Tom Cruise or I forgot who else we talked about. Oh, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or whether it be about production companies or friends or whatever. What are we gonna talk about next time?
Whatever we want.
Haven't said it in a while, but be nice to yourself, everybody.
Adiosness.